Yeah, so I'd like to start this conversation with something that's happened recently. I've been selling HR recruiting career services, and I've noticed a little bit about how people have been reacting to the way I've approached, the way I've sold, and the way I've stated the offerings. And it's fascinating that, when you have the intention, positive intention, and trying to help people with what they may need, right? You're giving an honest and solid offer, providing great value, and perceived competence matters for so much. It has to do with believability, and I find it so fascinating. I've started a few businesses over the years, and with every single one of them, there is skepticism and to repeat it, lack of believability. Will this person actually be able to render the service or product that I am purchasing? Who are you? Why should we listen to you? Can you be trusted? Will you exist? Will you be around? And so I think it's really important to really focus on that. It's really important to focus on that need for people to know that you're a person of good moral, good ethic, and just an upstanding person. Otherwise, even if you are trying to help people, with things that they really need, if they can't see in some kind of way that you will actually be able to provide that, because there's a lack of trust, that you're just gonna fly by night or whatever, then you're not gonna be able to close the sale, and at the end of the day, you're not gonna be able to help that person. And yeah, like every entrepreneur who's been starting, they know about this, right? So I've never heard about it from the emotional perspective. Everyone speaks about it like a process, right? It's a sales process, but it's never been so much talked about from the emotional perspective as of the individual. I mean, when you go out there and you go to sell, you yourself, you have the best of intention, right? Though people may not perceive that, and it's actually sad. It's sad that they don't see what you see. And that's why the ability to communicate is so important. And if you can't communicate well, then you need to do it with consistency. You need to follow up. And that might even go for individuals who are looking for a job, right? So I also sell career hacking services here in Hong Kong. I help people find jobs, and the rate that you're actually going to close. But anyway, how about this? Let's make an example. Let's say you're selling anything. For every 100 people you approach, can you sell to even one? let's say you're a great salesman. Maybe you can sell to 1 people per 100 that you tag or touch or call, or if they're cold leads. You know, if they're warm leads, you'll be able to close on more. That depends on your effectiveness as a salesman, right? And are those leads inbound? Whatever, but let's just say they're cold leads, and people who are looking for jobs without relationships, let's say they're coming from overseas, coming into Hong Kong, you have to be able to sell yourself, right? And you can't just do it once, because what you're doing is you're letting people know that you're just a one-time person and that you're an opportunist. You're only going to apply once, but it can't be like that. If you're convinced that a certain employer is, that you can provide value as an individual to that employer, it's your personal responsibility, right? So if you're a person of good character and you believe that you can help a certain company or business, it's your moral duty to keep applying for that position, regardless of the way they react or what they have to say. Otherwise, what are you doing? Right? You're letting someone out there in the world how should I word this? Fail to have the opportunity to be able to be exposed to your competency that can render benefits to their business and to the people who they work with, and you yourself as an individual can emotionally benefit from that. You know, we're hardwired to share, and we get great emotional reward for that. And as an employer, they also receive great emotional reward for being able to hire people. You know, whoever does have the ability and capacity to do so, they feel good about having people work for them, work with them. Otherwise, if there wasn't this Pavlovian mechanism, there would probably be our world wouldn't look the way it does. Even just take a look to the side of me, you know, those pillars, you know, that was probably made with dry casting. There's steel involved, you know, aluminum, bolts, rivets. I'm walking on a brick pathway. There's glass buildings behind me. Farmers nurtured these trees to plant them, and they all required teamwork for us to get along. So if you're a person who's applying for a job a single time, you're grossly mistaken in where your heart is. You can't just do it once. Otherwise, you're failing that person, that individual who's responsible for your paycheck, because they're not going to be able to enjoy the value you provide to them. That being said, if you do have the underlying competency, if you don't, maybe you'll learn something. And that's also very positive. The more competent people that we have out here in the world is going to become a better place. And we all need to, in some manner, contribute to that. We need to take a shot on some people, and we can reduce our risk by discounting their salaries. And it may be very unwise for an individual that would be able to partake in greater responsibility and only focusing on the higher salary, because they themselves will fail to become more competent, and in some way they'll, I don't like the word parasite, but they'll negate the potential of improvement which there may not be enough people of, which will in turn make the world not be able to grow as quickly, and the livelihood of single individual lives to improve, because customers, clients, or other people are dependent on that service and or product. So I'd like to give you a challenge. I'd like you to ask yourself, when you liked a certain job or a certain career path, how many times have you actually applied to that employer or into that type of career direction? Really, just think about it. You can say that you've been working at it for a period of time, but what was the volume of output in singular interactions and points of exchange? That's interesting. I was really surprised. There was this blue-eyed guy speaking with a perfect Japanese accent. I'm here in Hong Kong, by the way, and in Whampoa there's a bit of a Japanese community. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's a little bit overcast, so it's not so hot. There's a light breeze. You know, it's great to think about these things, and in some way I'm having a bit of a conversation with myself about this, because I've been thinking about this abstractly for such an extended period of time, though it's very challenging for me to be able to keep it within myself, because I'm an extroverted thinker. And I would like to invite people who wish to talk on the subject to a meetup that I host. A meetup I host on Connaught Road in Central. You can send an email at info@opportunity.to for more information. As for that, it's on every Friday from 5:10 to 6 p.m. I've booked a boardroom. You know, refreshments will be provided, but I mean, it's only 50 minutes. I need that 10 minutes to prepare, and to speak for a full hour, it's a little bit redundant. Most people don't have the capacity to do so. Myself, I've already been speaking for 15 minutes, and there's been a lot of original material that I've rendered from what I've been saying. Though specifically on these Fridays, I will be talking about specifically organizational products and services. That being said, one of the products is our natural language index retrieval system, and because I'm a Canadian and you know, median wage is about $3,000 a month Canadian, so that comes in at around just over 18,000 Hong Kong dollars a month. The reason why is because our support systems are still based in Canada, even though myself, I am here in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong would greatly benefit from improvements in operations. And the way that I'm perceiving this actual product to be utilized in the workplace is a little bit in the future. I would not want to say there may be adverse reactions, because we have to be honest about it. Though it's very good. Hong Kong, I'd like to compare it to Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a very free and open society. In fact, a lot of statistics say it's the most free society. That's been challenged recently, though I'm not going to get into that. Though in my perspective, you're free to do and say whatever you wish. And people are not going to challenge you. So you can have political opinions in either direction. You can have certain beliefs on relationships, either direction that's acceptable. And you're free to speak, and people are willing to listen. It's a very special place, and even there's a great amount of economic freedom. You're practically non-taxed. You're practically non-taxed in this city-state. And I would like to imagine that there could be more places such as this. You know, as a Canadian, I paid probably more than 50% of my income in tax. And in some way it's a bit sad, right? You know, it's a lot of people will claim there'll be social services, but in fact maybe because I'm still a young man, I've never really needed to utilize them. Usually took care of myself. Even college, I had to pay out of pocket. So I'm not so sure. Anyways, I'm getting too much into this. My positive opinion about Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is a free and open society. You're free to speak, and I think every organization should have free and open speech. Now, everyone would like to claim that they could have that within their own company, but do they? What happens within an organization? I wouldn't like to say the word culture, because I think that's too weak of a descriptor, but let's just call it culture for now, because nothing else comes to mind. What happens when you go against middle management, or disagree with how things are functioning within the business, and you may have alternate ideas as a subordinate? I mean, things don't really come off very well. And you know, me being, you know, relatively young, I'm just still in my early 30s. You know, in my 20s, I've had that issue when being a creative person, you go and you speak to a manager they may not be so interested in what you have to say because you're simply complicating their lives. Or if you're approaching other superiors and you're saying that things could be done in a different way, you're also challenging their efficacy as an employee within a system and their own ability to function within that organization. So basically what you're doing is stating that they're incompetent. Oh yeah, great. So I wouldn't say that there's that much freedom of speech within an organization, but let's take a look at what happens to economies when they become free and open economically and with speech and thought. Well, no, just take a look for yourself, right? And that's the bit, just building as far as the eye can see, and that's actually the bit poorer part of Hong Kong, if you could imagine. And just glass skyscraper. I think I see about a dozen cranes in the air, and the economy is quite stable in Hong Kong. It's not growing that much, but it's still building up. And you know, the bedrock of all Western society has been the freedom of speech, but we don't even have that within our own workplaces. Why? I would like to pose this question to you. Maybe you can answer in the comments. Why is it that in our societies we're proud of our freedom of speech, but with the place that we spend most of our time, we don't? Why is that? Anyways, of course you can always send an email to info@opportunity.to. Again, that's info@opportunity.to, and I'll provide a link to that meetup group. And if you wish to speak to me, we can always connect through email, and we can arrange something. It's very interesting, you know. There's something going on, and it's much greater than just this recruiting and HR and recruiting concept. It's a fundamental idea, and we as people within in a great time, we're not embracing that of what we've learned from our history and our predecessors, and it's just so blatant, it's so obvious. But why can't we act on it? So send an email at info@opportunity.to, and I look forward to talking to you. Have a good day. Bye bye.